एक मिनट रुक जाओ, रेडी होने दो. चलो ये कर लेते हैं. This could be a great intro.
Hi, I'm Akshay.
Hi, this is Saurabh, and you are listening to the Founder Thesis podcast. We meet some of the most celebrated startup founders in the country.
And we want to learn how to build a unicorn.
Hi, my name is Nimish, and I am the CEO and co-founder of WorkEx.
Few engineers get to build things related to their core subjects once they pass out. This might have been the case for Nimish Sharma also, but his passion to build something meaningful made him quit the job offered to him on campus to start up his own venture with his batchmate, and that too in a challenging sector like drones manufacturing, and that too way back in 2007. Over the next 9 years, they built a world-class drones company that beat much larger global rivals to win defense and government contracts, eventually getting acquired by the Tata Group in 2015. In his current venture, WorkEx, Nimish is no less ambitious, as he is tackling the problem of lack of trust in the blue-collar and entry-level employment space by building a full-stack solution to help employers to hire, manage, and engage an A-team of workers through a single platform. Listen on as Nimish tells Akshay Dutt about building WorkEx.
So, Nimish, tell me about your dad. Like, where is your family from, basically?
I'm born and brought up in Kota, Rajasthan. Kota is popularly known for competitive exam preparation, specifically JEE. My father was an engineer, civil engineer. He was the guy who was a government servant working for irrigation department. He was one of those guys who worked on Indira Gandhi Canal. And what I loved and learned was that he used to love engineering drawings and design. And I developed interest to fly paper planes there from him.
Okay.
So it comes from a very humble background. My mother is a Sanskrit and Hindi teacher. And I have an elder brother who is also an engineer from IT Kanpur.
So you grew up in a pretty academic environment. Like academics must have been important.
Yeah, in typical middle classes, basically, if you study well, you have to perform well, and that's how your career is going to be defined through that. So was a decent, good boy kind of a person, sincere one, but always curious.
And you joined classes at Kota for the entrance exam?
So being in Kota is, there's a culture, but it was long back. Kota was not popularly known for coaching. It was just starting then. And whether it was various other competitive exams before JEE, before like National Talent Search examination, etc., everything was coming on the way, and it's basically you need to do that. And always question, would you qualify or not? So I have lived that journey. It was kind of a journey where I did not like the format of education then. And always curiosity was the driving force to just come out educated more rather than accumulating information.
Okay, so what were those years at IIT Kanpur like for you? This would have been first time living away from home in a hostel environment.
So moving from Kota to Kanpur, again, my elder brother did his chemical engineering from there. So it was a kind of a rat race following that if you go to this college, then there is a prestige associated with this. But there was another angle. I come from a humble family. The fees at the college was really low. So that was one of the motivations. Landing at IIT, first year was something that everyone is coming with a decent background academically. So that loss of identity of what you have accomplished before was really humbling as well as gratifying also. That there is no more comparison, there is no more things, but always competition is now going to be lived more than what has been lived so far. So that was journey there. And after 1 year, I was under a crisis that what am I doing here? Because my life since till now has been something following, just keeping up the matrices of the maths and performance, etc. So I landed in aerospace engineering, and there is a connection that I used to love making paper planes, hundreds of them, and used to fly from various heights. And I used to love the flight, and that's how there is a natural connection there. And I had a huge impact because of the Kargil war. I don't know why and how, but it's basically since the childhood, Doordarshan's impact or the family's impact, mother being an academician, that I love my nation like crazy. And I wanted to contribute and landed in aerospace. And then I realized in first year that there is nothing is being taught where I could actually come out as an engineer. So
Okay.
there is nothing hands-on. So I joined the aero modeling club, and in the first year itself, I was made the coordinator because there was nobody doing that job. And the seniors who were in final year were the coordinators, and they handed over the keys. And I found that it's a dirty place. Let me just start from cleaning it up. And then I thought that I don't know anything about how planes fly. So I learned it on my own. A professor gave me an opportunity to go to Bangalore and learn flying.
Wow. Like pilot lessons you took?
Yes. So I went through that, came back, revived the entire club. But again, that sentiment of what am I learning and what am I going to come out, whether am I going to come out as an engineer or not? Because everyone was talking about the career ahead. Living in now was not happening at all, and that was my crisis. And the second thing that am I be able to contribute as an engineer to a nation or to even justify my own self-being and what am I doing? So I found really good senior who was a real techie in his third year. And I found one professor, Professor Ghosh, who was into missiles. And he worked with Professor Kalam, he worked on India's missiles, etc. And he was the only guy from the industry. So he took lessons of mine, of design, etc. In my second year itself, which used to be a final year thing. And he used to coach me, and he had a huge impact, and I consider him my guru. And I spent next 3 years developing drones in IIT,
Wow.
and I'm talking 2003 to 2006. And that was some amazing journey I had. That it's not just course anymore. I will take on my own courses, and there is a room out there that something can be done. IIT Kanpur has a really good flight lab. So what Professor Ghosh did was he gave me his flight lab keys and beta ye tera R&D cell hai. And in that R&D cell, I organized the entire thing and I start building stuff. And we did not have components to the material which is required for it to be built. I spent around 6 months there creating that workshop to creating the first air model with the lessons given by the professor. I flew it around 20, 30 times and every time it crashed. Once it crashes, it's like you are having a small heart attack. You build for 10, 20, 30 hours, then you fly, then you crash. So those were the initial days where I learned perseverance in a true way. And what my professor taught me that love the tools, have respect for the technicians more than the engineers, because technicians actually help build and they really build. So that knowledge of how things are built, that came from there. And that grit of each time it breaks, you have to just build it all over again. And one fine evening, it took off. And it took off so beautifully. It was tears in the eyes of the entire group as well as my professor. And still that, if I remember that day, there are goosebumps still. And my professor was really strict as in he was a young professor. And he used to just say that you can't lose stuff and you need to understand root cause analysis. I understood from there. And then he then started sharing that what you just did in past 15 years in this institute, which is considered to be the number one institute, nothing of this sort has happened before. He never revealed that to me before that. And then my wingmates used to just come around, see what exactly is going on, what is your pursuit, and they started joining hands. And we formed a team. And from there on, in the senior year dissertation, that was the best project award. So my mother was invited by the director, and I got the gold medal there. And then the entire faculty of aerospace department said that this is something that you have worked on 10 such projects combined together, and something coming out of bachelor's technical project is something really remarkable and should not be left there.
So what was the final project?
So final project was to develop a medium altitude, medium endurance, tactical unmanned aerial vehicle.
What does that mean? There are a lot of jargon.
Basically, you can do reconnaissance and surveillance with that.
Okay, so a drone which can have a camera on it, which can be remotely navigated, and it will beam back the images, or what? उस time पे तो वो mobile
कुछ नहीं होता था. So nothing was available there. So right from communication, and we are talking for as an engineering project, it was not a hobby, kind of a demonstration thing. We developed a 15 kg bird with a capacity of taking off with a 4 kg payload. And you can load anything and everything. Electro-optical cameras are one of those. And you can use it for civilian purposes, military purposes, etc. So that becoming a vehicle of a sort which can be configured for various things. So I'm talking about going really as an engineer on specking out things. So I learned my product design through aircraft design. And and in those days, there was nothing available on the internet also that you can copy. There was no open source project. So everything was from first fundamental level of physics. So that was quite a journey. And then I thought that what is next? I wanted to take it to a level where it can be handed over to folks and various departments for exploration. And then came a time. We were a team of around 5-6 guys, aerospace engineers, electrical, computer science, and we were collectively working on it. And then few had their masters to be done. And there was a juncture that what next? We are not able to take it up. And I did not sit for any placement company interviews, etc. Then the team pushed me that this may not be the right time. And with a very low heart, I just had to pick up a job and move there. And after 3 months, I got a call that this is not working, as in we created such a brilliant thing and we should take it forward.
Got a call from?
So one of my previous co-founders, so this company that we incorporated, my first venture was Aurora Integrated Systems.
Your batchmates who were working with you, he was one of them?
Yes, batchmates became wingmates and then roommates.
Okay.
Then they called me and they said that we should do it. So I was into job for over 3 months only. And I was working as a yield management analyst for an airline to maximize their revenue. And I was so feeling bad that my entire 3 years I dedicatedly do that, and I loved it every bit. And I did my internship also in the similar domain of understanding the entire data fusion to writing filters, controls. So I'm a controls guy also, control systems engineering guy. So these all things were learned during college in a very practical scenario. So I did my internship in Rennes, France, where I worked on Airbus project, structural health monitoring, etc. So I don't want to go there; it becomes really techy. And wrote a IEEE paper also on that. So the entire skill set got developed, and that happened, which takes around 10 years. It happened in just 3 years,
right?
With that confidence. And then, as they called me, I quit my job. I came back to India in a week's time.
Okay. Your job was in Gulf?
UAE, Abu Dhabi specifically. I was working for Etihad Airways. So if you are a control systems guy, you know the entire popularly known as AI and ML these days. So that is taught there itself if you are into those things. So hence that helped me at Etihad, though it was just a very short stint. And I came back and then we started that. It took us around 5 to 6 months in the incubation center of IT Kanpur. That we configured the another.
Who is we here? Like how many of you were there?
So we were 7. 2 from aerospace, including me, 2 from electrical, 2 from computer science, and 1 from mechanical.
And all of you were like who had completed your BTech? Like you all left your jobs and came back to do this, or your master's course?
So another friend, our co-founder, he quit his job in Tata Motors. The guys had offers, they declined their offers. And the teammate is from mechanical, he quit his MBA in engineering. Because the cause was really good. Again, all shared that bit of that we should contribute and just prove ourselves as a true engineers also to ourselves as well as to the nation. And let us add to that, because during Kargil war, it was like that we did not have roads. So that was a huge impact, and that just connected us together. And then magic happened.
IIT Kanpur funded you or they just gave space and what was it like?
So they gave us the space to park ourselves. We had flight labs, Professor Ghosh supported us on that front, but there was no money. Then real magic happened that Raman, who was at IIM Lucknow, he was being interviewed for Tata Administrative Services. And Ashutosh Tyagi, who was the heading Tata Industries there with Mr. Chalker being the director. And then while the interview, Raman said that I'm founding this company together with my friend. And though I can take up this internship, but I'm not going to be joining, I will be starting. So the conversation then moved towards that Tata grew up into aerospace and envisaging drones, and these kids right after college are having so much of enthusiasm and just got recognized for the development on unmanned aerial vehicle drones from IIT Kanpur. So that was a huge impact story for them. And Ashutosh then quickly checked with Mr. Tata, and we had to just write business plan, etc. This is something happening, the wheel turning on its own. So then what I gathered from Ashutosh is that Mr. Tata's words were that if we don't, who will? And we should. And that's how in early 2007, we got funded with $1 million from Tata Industries.
Wow.
So that was the initial journey of taking off from the concept to making it happen and living the journey of fundraise through that. But it was all organic, never thought of being an entrepreneur at all. And just finding the purpose and being real and thorough with that.
How much stake did Tata take for that 1 million?
Oh, it was back then, there was no VC money, etc. It was around 40%. So it was a high stake taking. So then Ministry of Science and Technology also did a soft loan of $1 million.
Okay.
So we were able to get the capital there in place, create products, and then we were deployed. So if I have to say long story short, our systems are deployed in Northern Command, Western Command, and Southern Command of our country.
Wow.
And I'm talking 2000 to 2006. At that point of time, there was no VC money, there was no vision. And this being a B2G business to government. So no, if somebody has to think about this today, it's not the space that one would do.
Right. So how long did it take you to launch your first product? 2007, you got funded. Then from 7 till your product launch, how long was that journey?
So that was also beautiful. It was a term that a small portion of the funding is going to be given first as an investment. And in 4 months, you have to fly the entire bird autonomous hands.
Okay.
So we took 4 months, day in, day out. So that became a kind of a culture that sleepless nights, etc. Can't make a mistake. If you make a mistake, you have to crash. You crash again. Then you gather the debris, put it together, and then next day go back again. So in 4 months, the development of the product took place, but a product to ship to the market took around a year and a half.
Because you have to do it in mass production. So you have to have it's different designing one versus producing hundreds.
Correct. So we talk of UX being so important these days. Our design requirement was that a 10th pass Sipahi can actually launch that drone on his or her own. And understand that directly taking the inputs from touchpad-based tablet. And we are talking 2007. At that point of time, going by creating something on a UX front to be so simple that anybody can fly. And then targeting, so vision processing also came in. So it became really complex. That vehicle dynamics is one part, another part is locking onto the target, time to target, coming back, the entire battery management. So it was really, really tech intensive. And the beauty was that we had to reinvent the entire structural part, because every time it lands in an unprepared ground, you can't just keep on repairing the stuff. So it has to be modular, it has to undergo and take the impacts and deliver what is needed, is the tracking bit.
During this journey, was it funding itself through revenue, or did you raise more funds after that?
So we raised in 2007, and then we raised in 2012. So we were participating in large value trials, which had a huge fund.
What does that mean, large value trial?
We are talking about hundreds of crores, thousands of crores worth of procurement.
Okay.
And then came a situation that how we can actually bid for this, being a small company. And then Tata Advanced Systems in 2012 took a majority stake. Tata Industries had 42%. They took it up to 72, 74%. So the mandate became clear that to us also that group needs control, and we also found it prudent because the business cycle is capital intensive, and once you win a tender, you have to service this for 10 to 15 years. So Tata Group is a magnanimous group, and the values match in a sense that the most ethical and very relevant to society in a way that of impact. So we found good partners in our investors on the value system side. And we took a call that in 2012, they took a majority. In 2015, we exited. And by then, our systems were deployed there and way larger value orders were coming in. So that was a take.
And you were essentially like the CEO till 2015.
Yeah, I was the managing director. I started it, but it was Raman who was the CEO because I wanted to just focus myself on the development and the operations bit and making it happen.
Okay. And Raman was doing the commercial, the business.
Yes, commercial and investor relations. So that was then till 2015.
So in 15, why did you leave? I mean, you could have continued as a managing director of a Tata Group company.
So that fancy I did not have. As I shared before, I was about to say that I had no inkling towards a corporate culture or becoming a businessman or being at a senior position. So then came in the next phase of my life. I have been living this for over a decade now. And what is next?
If you like to hear stories of founders, then we have tons of great stories from entrepreneurs who have built billion-dollar businesses. Just search for the Founder Thesis podcast on any audio streaming app like Spotify, Gaana, Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to the show.
So 15, then what did you decide to do next? You got an exit from your venture, and then what next?
So then I was in a different phase that what I thought of as an 18, 20-year-old, now after being at around 28, 30, what exactly now is the phase? So I thought that I have not developed a business which is scalable and of high impact at a larger one. So I got the opportunity at that point of time from delivery, which was into e-commerce logistics then in 2015. So I was given a job to cross-utilize various services and functions, bring down the cost and come up with new business verticals. And after 4 months of studying the entire network, proposed a new network with modes of transport being different. From air moving to ground, as in from moving in shipments in airlines to moving shipments on trucks, and optimize that.
So by trucking, that means like that full truckload transportation, that business.
Less than truckload, full truckload, part truckload, optimizing. So we deployed a capacitated time-based optimization approach. In the system itself, on top of the ERP of delivery, we created transport management system. And with that transport management system, the entire visibility to turn around service level impact, that thing happened. And it was great of Sahil to give me that kind of opportunity and standing by the idea and taking the company fourfold from there on.
Wow.
And this I was able to achieve in just 2 years. And it was around 8 months of development and then around 6 to 8 months of deployment. There I realized the entire scale, impact, and creating the entire revenue stream from. So there was no funding per se. We were a team of small, around 8 to 10 guys, and we were doing analytics, we were doing tech, we were doing product, we were deploying on the process part ourselves. So we were building, operating, and transferring it to the larger team.
Okay.
And so a handful of team impacting more than a way larger team. So that was my journey there.
Why did you decide to move on?
So a startup for me happened. I never planned for a startup. So I'm in typical startup entrepreneurship terms, I'm not following that pursuit of that I want to be going in a certain format of doing things this way. First thing is why to start up is fundamentally that the problem is very close to your heart.
Right.
So what triggered in delivery was something that I experienced in my early life. So I'm from Kota, Rajasthan, and Kota used to be an industrial hub. I've seen companies shutting down and thousands of people getting out of job. And that state made me feel really bad. I mean, had a very huge impact on me that I have seen the transformation that if education had not happened to Kota, then there were thousands of families, JK shut down, IL shut down, so many companies shut down, and there were thousands of jobless people in their mid 30s, mid 40s, and they had kids in my class. As in, I was studying with them, and I was just seeing it all around. So, education industry actually helped Kota cope up. But at delivery, what happened to me? I used to be there at hubs, at delivery centers. I found the company is growing rapidly. Then the guy here has no trust because we had around 40, 50 odd staffing partners and who were supposed to hire and manage the workforce.
This is like largely the blue collar workforce, like warehouse and logistics.
Yes. So at that point of time, delivery had around 15,000 workforce and currently it's around 35,000. So while I was deploying my system and working closely, and at that point of time, moving, whether it was a warehouse or the last mile delivery, there used to be a lot of attrition. And these vendors were supposed to just bridge the gap. So as per International Labour Organization, around 90% of our enterprise workforce do not have a written contract.
Right.
So this is where it is spinning off from. This is a problem that government is dealing with and has been dealing it for really long. That whether it's a jobs problem, whether it's a recognition problem. So for us, it was just three things functionally that I was able to decipher. That sourcing, hiring, and managing platform is required, and it is now possible after 2017. Before 2017, it was not possible.
Because of internet penetration.
Internet penetration, smartphone adoption. What motivated me that there is a huge gap of trust. Trust can be bridged through transparency. Transparency can and scale can come through tech. And as a job seeker moves to a particular job, and from there they move to another job. So this transition and trust to come in, it requires a platform format, and hence WorkEx stands as an online staffing platform. So that there is an entire journey of a person which is tracked all through. And this is what is very essential, that the entire process of walking through mutually is transparent and which brings in integrity and dignity for both the sides and which opens up doors for through this recognition of financial inclusion of a very large workforce of our country and nation. So I believe that innovation is achieved through problem solving. And one day, innovation happens if you work on a problem. But adoption happens during crisis.
So what was version one? Like version one of your product that tell me about what you launched.
Our go-to market. So we thought that we are going to be building a platform which can impart sourcing at scale digitally, internet-based, can enable screening, hiring of the workforce, then managing the workforce, their entire payouts to attendance, etc. So we've started from a front of in February 2017. We worked till April and created a management solution that you can manage your vendors, you can manage your workforce. We got a pushback in early 2017 that the vendors did not want this transparency to be there.
I want to understand this better, that version one which you launched. What was it like? Was it like a ATS the applicant tracking system in which vendors can upload profiles which the company can see and then can do interview and then release an offer letter. Was that what you did? Like for staffing vendors to share profiles with employers?
So we did not start from the hiring bit. We started from the managed bit, that they can mark their attendance, they can have their Aadhaar there, they can get their payouts from it.
It was like a payroll platform.
Yeah, payroll part, but the visibility with the principal employer, that you are working for Paytm, you are working for Tata Chemical, or you are working for a large company enterprise, and you get the visibility of your workforce, and you get the management of your vendors, that they are passing on the benefits to the workforce or not. And then there was a pushback
from the vendors.
So this pushback, that vendor did not want this transparency to be there, and principal employer wanted it. So our clients wanted it, but the adoption took pushback from there. So we went back to the design desk and we thought that we should break the problem down of sourcing and hiring and management separately. Because here the supply is the king. As in, if we can source right, and if we can source in large volume, and if we can filter those. So we then worked on sourcing and hiring first.
Because if you can do sourcing and hiring, then you don't need vendors.
You don't need vendors. Step in the door is there,
right.
And you have a leverage. So we worked with a matrix of time to hire should be very least and cost of hiring should be least. So with that, we started working on it, and we started with the first launch of 15% match rate. So this is not a search-based market. This is a discovery-based market. So here, a person doesn't know how to search for jobs. Like if you go to various job boards, if there is a job for Android developer, a sales guy can also make an application.
Right.
It will not stop you. So not a resume database kind of a format, but a format where the matching is taken care of.
What is the pricing for self-service? Like,
so in $200 you can hire at least one staff. You can hire more also.
So in 2019 is when like the revenue journey started. What was that revenue journey like for you?
So we started with around clocking. We started with around 10 lakhs a month from September of 2019, taking it up to around 70 lakhs in November, then around 85, 90 lakhs in December. So this is how our journey, and we got our first interest on fundraise. So we started in late December. We closed it in the first 2 weeks of January, interest for investment.
How much did you raise then?
So in Series A, we raised $4 million. It was led by Joe Hirao, and he runs a platform called ZigXN. ZigXN is a live media platform into real estate, jobs, automobiles, etc. It's a listed entity in Japan. So Joe-san has been in this space in Japan, and he runs $1 billion staffing business also. And
okay.
And what he liked was that you have automated the entire hiring process. This is something that we should take it to Japan. So it is a global product, and you should scale first. And then Praviga participated in that round. And then Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, like the entire how the hiring in this space is cracked by WorkEx. So we raised the $4 million round by April of 2019.
Okay, before COVID. This managing the workforce platform, who is responsible for payroll? Like they are on the company's payroll or they are on your payroll?
So we then behave like a pass-through vehicle that you have to pay this workforce, and we are your pass-through vehicle for it on distribution of the payouts. So in various formats, whether it's on a task basis format that you have to pay the workers on, say for sake, per delivery basis, or per item sale done, or it is the time effort that you just come for one shift, or you come for 1.5 shifts. So on a shift basis, So these all formats are taken care of, and we are your pass-through vehicles as a solution uh, to manage your workforce, to manage your entire compliance also for the same.
These are all then gig workers. They are not like in an employment contract with a fixed monthly salary and a PF and all that. You're not into that space.
So that's what. So contract staffing is one. Independent contractor management is one. Managing the task-based worker is a gig-based worker. So we are in all three of them. And
Okay, you're in all
and
three.
if you have a permanent staff, you just want to go for hire, and if you want to manage your workforce through WorkEx solution, so that you get the benefit. So based on that, the pricing is there. Say for sake, if it is 100, then it is around 80. Then the next one is 60, and the lowest one is then 20. So given this, you get the feel of it, and you always then be on the WorkEx platform, and the common denominator is the workforce through the platform that you have assurance of.
Okay. And what do you charge for each of these formats? Like, is it a percentage of salary or is it a fixed rupee value?
So a mix of both. On a task-based level, we charge per task basis. On a time-based format, we charge on a percentage.
Like
basis.
Percentage or fixed?
On a task base, like for gig workers, in that case, we have a kind of a rate format that if the person is getting this much and the value is here, then there's going to be a rate chart for it. In case of time-based one, we have a duration.
What are the rates like?
So in case of time-based, it is around 5% to around 12 to 15% there, depending on the length of the contract. If it's for longer, then the percentage is lower, and it's a recurring revenue. If it's for a shorter duration, then we charge more, and hence the worker also gets paid more. In a gig format, if a gig worker is earning around 200 bucks, then we are charging around 80 to 100 bucks.
This is the task base, like 80 to 100 per task?
Yeah. Like a delivery boy is doing a delivery, then that person gets around 30 bucks, 40 bucks is the charge. So they're on that, on a per unit basis, the charging. Then.
So what do you charge there on the per unit basis, per task?
So there the margins are higher, as in like if the worker is getting paid around 200 bucks for a task, then we charge around 80 to 100 bucks.
Okay. And this is paid by the employer. So the employer will end up paying 300.
We paid them.
Okay. So the employer is still paying 200, but out of that 280 you keep and 120 goes.
No. Like the employer is paying 300. 200 is going to the gig worker. 100 is what we actually pay.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So about like 30% or like, okay. Got it. Okay. And for the contractual workers, like where they are like on fixed monthly kind of a salary, what do you charge there?
Somewhere between 5% to around 12-13%. But this is
again depending on the duration.
Exactly. So shorter the duration, the higher the charges. Longer the duration, the recurring revenue. So if you look at the CAC versus LTV, so LTV, though the gross margin is lower, but the LTV is very high. It's a sticky recurring revenue. In case of gig, etc., the volumes are seasonal, but again, they yield more gross margin.
Okay, got it. So now tell me about COVID. What happened during COVID?
So during COVID, we lost around 60% of our workforce last year.
Okay.
Because uncertainty being there and clients having a kind of a
complete lockdown.
When it's going to open up.
People going back to their villages.
So it took us around, in 3 months' time, we got reduced to around 40% of where we were. From 3 million ARR to again dropping it down. And then it took us around 2 months.
3 million ARR, this is like a monthly
the $3 million
revenue,
annual run rate, we were there.
Annual run rate. Okay.
So we were there at that point around 2.5 crores, somewhere there. And then And then it got reduced to around 40% of this. And then it took us, once the lockdown opened up, so it was then in June, we got back to around 80% of where we were, because the entire sourcing is digital. So we were able to get the workforce back again. And by August, again, we were there at where we were to around 95%, because there was a lot of ordering in the market in various sectors. It happened that logistics increased, and then rest of the things decreased. So there was entirely a new format. But what worked for us was basically that now everyone wants to go digital. So they realize, so what I was sharing before, that innovation happens, then adoption happens during crisis, increases drastically.
Right.
So like during World War II, it happened for various inventions which were there in late 1800s. And similarly, here, like many of the startups got tailwinds because of COVID. So it was a blessing in disguise that way. So migration happened. People lost jobs, and companies had to just come back to the regular business order, and they had to hire back again. So hence, WorkEx entire system on the hiring front, that magic happened then. So the confidence increased drastically, both for the clients as well as for the workforce. And then we productized this entire managed bit, which was sitting alone, and brought it there on the marketplace of our hiring, and we combined. So we alone in the market offer on the marketplace side both hiring and the management of the workforce in a single unified platform. Because job seeker is a state, staff is a state, people move from job to job, and their duration to their records getting created, to businesses trusting them and finding and joining this broken ecosystem. This then is the approach from here on, that we have completed our stack of hiring and management of workforce, and being agnostic of the format of engagement, and true identity getting created. So last year we supported during COVID, and how the trust plays so crucial role. We gave insurance benefits, etc., to our workforce, which was managed by us.
Okay.
And then that is also a revenue contributor. But let me share that story, that a truck driver met an accident, and the guy was taken to a really decent hospital, and the coverage happened. And that experience, and the humbling experience of that, insurance was not that costly. It was just $350. But the experience during those times, that the person did not have money, or did not have the job then, and the treatment, and him coming out and going back to working. So these experiences, we have a feedback loop in our platform, where people who get hired share their videos. A guy having who developed during COVID addiction, alcoholism, and sharing that I got my integrity back through getting this job and getting paid, and my recognition and my self confidence is back again. So this is what that keeps us running and motivated, that we are in a space, and tech has such a huge scale to bring in the trust which is needed. And this is our nation's identity, that being a consumer economy, and a large portion of population which contributes directly to a double-digit GDP, if that comes and on a platform and is recognized, then this is something of the largest value. I don't want to put a number to it on the valuation front to anything. The impact and unlocking of the economy is of the highest order. We are the human resource capital of the world.
Right, right. So, like, the job seeker will have a single app for both searching for jobs and also for managing his employment, or are these different apps?
So once you are managed, you don't get an option to actually look out for jobs.
Okay.
So that's
but it is human tendency, na? I mean, you would want to search for. Then what do they do? Do they like create another account to look for a job, or what? Like,
so on the IP level, or you are having dual SIM, etc. You try it. WorkEx doesn't allow you. If you are managed through a WorkEx platform, you can always quit and search. So this is you can go. So in job search market, you can be there, or you can go through referral, etc. But creation of identity requires this to for the trust to come in. Maybe eventually we can give that option, but again, on a trust front, trust to be built, and it has to be done honestly and thoroughly. Uh, Staff getting being managed is not given an option to look for job on work.
okay, so the app is the same only.
It's a single
but
stack app.
They don't see the search.
No.
Okay, they don't see the search job interface.
Yes.
Okay.
So phone number is the identifier.
Okay, phone number is the identifier. Okay, and when somebody is searching for a job at that stage, do they have to like upload an Aadhaar or some identity proof, or that happens once they get employed?
So once a person is shortlisted and offered, from there the documentation journey starts. That you share your Aadhaar, your bank details. We take that. We have background verification APIs with us. We onboard the person with the due records and maintain them for that person.
Okay. How do you do background verification? Like just confirming that this Aadhaar is genuine? Or
yes,
what?
We have integrated the Aadhaar API background verification on the address front. So that is we have integrated in our platform.
Okay. Got it. Okay. And for an employer, what is the journey for them? Like they also have a mobile app. Probably they would have a desktop app also, right? Because
so on a quick front level, that whether you are a large company or a small company, the workforce, the portion of workforce, large or small, there is a hierarchy there. So you manage them. So you need a phone then if you have to manage your team. You have a web interface also. So you
manage in what sense? Like to see how many people are present today?
How their performance is going. So what I was trying to communicate was that trust is built through performance. So that engagement loop that you asked me about, that was the part, that the recognition. So if I'm managing a floor of around 20 guys, then I know their details right there in my app, but I need a larger interface once I have to take actions further beyond. So both web and app, quick action space, you require an app to be there to have that visibility. If you see a person has not appeared and you want that person, you want to communicate with that person pretty quickly. So
so you can send a message.
You can send a message. You can directly call from there.
Okay.
So the mobile app on the business side gives the command and control. And then the execution and orchestration, that shift rotation to managing the payouts and taking actions on having a collective view of about analytics, that is to the web.
Okay. And what about things like somebody applying for a leave and all that also is on WorkEx? Like
so
people who are on.
So that is also there. So why we have amalgamated so many things into simple actions? If these simple actions are taken, majority of the things are addressed, that you need not have to end at the work at the end of the month. Everything is distributed throughout the process and with various players. Otherwise, the reconciliation process to taking an action and creating a collated view is not at all possible. And then either you overhire or you underhire. The relationship with the staff and staff relationship with business then goes for a toss. And it has to be a distributed activity throughout the month or throughout the business cycle. And that the management accuracy increases drastically.
What are the goals that you set for yourself?
We gun for WorkEx to be known as the brand of trust for businesses and the workforce simultaneously, that this is a medium of fairness, this is a medium of growth and recognition to service at a large scale.
So that was Nimish Sharma telling Akshay Dutt about how he built WorkEx. To know more or to use their services, log on to workex.jobs. This episode of Founder Thesis Podcast is brought to you by Long Haul Ventures. Long Haul Ventures is the long haul partner for founders and startups that are building for the long haul. More about them is at www.longhaulventures.com.